Hannah sat quietly in the small room, her hands folded in her lap, staring at the white walls around her. The doctor's words repeated in her mind over and over. "You have a rare condition," he had said, "but it is harmless. Your senses are unusually sharp." Hannah tried to understand. She had always noticed things more than others, but she thought it was normal. Now the word condition made her feel strange. What did it mean? How would her life change? She could smell flowers from far away, hear soft whispers across a room, and notice tiny details in people's faces. Sometimes it was overwhelming. Sometimes it was wonderful. But now, thinking of it as a condition, she did not know whether to feel lucky or afraid. After leaving the clinic, Hannah walked slowly through the streets of her town. The sun was bright, and she could smell the bread from the bakery before she even reached the corner. She could hear the soft humming of a man sweeping his doorway. She noticed how the leaves in the trees moved slightly with the wind. These were things she had always noticed, but today they felt different, sharper, and more important. She wondered if other people noticed the same things, or if only she could feel the world this way. She tried to push the thoughts aside, but they kept returning. People in town had begun to whisper about Hannah. They had heard she had a rare condition, though most did not understand what it really meant. Some said she was strange. Some said she might be dangerous. Some were simply curious. When she walked past the market, she noticed the way shopkeepers stared at her, as if expecting her to do something unusual. Children pointed at her and laughed softly, not meaning to be cruel, but because she seemed different. Even friends she had known for years looked at her in a new way. Hannah felt her stomach tighten. She wanted to be normal. She wanted to walk through the town without everyone thinking about her condition. But she also knew that this was a part of her, whether people understood it or not. Hannah sat on a small bench near the fountain in the town square. She watched people move around her. She could hear the soft steps of a girl running to school, the gentle ringing of a bicycle bell, and the distant barking of a dog. Her senses felt alive in a way they never had before. She realized she could notice small details others would miss. A bird perched quietly on a branch, a butterfly landing on a flower, a woman carefully arranging fruit on a market stand. The town was full of life, and Hannah could see and hear it all. Her condition made her feel connected to the world in a way she could not explain. But it also made her feel alone because no one else seemed to experience life this way. No one else seemed to understand. As she sat on the bench, an elderly man walked past her, smiling gently. "Good morning, Hannah," he said. She turned to him, surprised that he knew her name. She smiled back softly. "Good morning," she replied. The man continued walking, and she noticed the faint smell of soap and bread that came from him. Most people would never notice such small things, but Hannah's senses picked up everything. She realized that her condition allowed her to understand more about the people around her, to notice small details about their lives that others would miss. It was a gift in a way, but it also made her feel different. Hannah thought about her family as she walked home. Her younger brother, Kalu, would always tease her for noticing things he never saw. Her mother, Amara, often told her that she had a special eye for the world. "You see life in ways I cannot," her mother had said. Hannah smiled, remembering those words. She had always known she was different, but now the doctor had given her a name for it. A condition. It sounded serious, but she knew it was harmless. She also knew it was a part of her identity, something she could use to help others if she wanted. But she still had questions. How would her life change now that people knew? Would they accept her or would they fear her? Would she be able to live normally? That evening, Hannah sat in her small bedroom, looking out the window at the quiet town. The sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, and she could smell the faint aroma of food from nearby houses. She could hear the soft laughter of children playing in the distance and the sound of a car slowly driving past. These sounds and smells, though ordinary to others, were vivid to her. They felt almost magical. Hannah realized that her condition allowed her to experience the world in a deeper way. She could enjoy small moments that others might miss. She could notice beauty in details that others would never see. She could feel the world more fully than anyone around her. And she felt a small spark of gratitude. Maybe this condition, though strange, was a gift. The next morning, Hannah walked to the market. She could smell fresh bread, ripe fruit, and even the faint scent of herbs from a small stall she often passed. She noticed a small crack in the pavement and a tiny flower growing beside it. She could hear the soft chatter of shopkeepers and the quiet footsteps of customers. A young boy dropped a coin and she heard it fall before anyone else noticed. She picked it up and handed it back to him, smiling. The boy looked surprised but grateful. Hannah realized that even small actions could have meaning when she paid attention to the world in her own way. Her condition made her notice the small things that mattered, the things that could make life better for others. People in the market had begun to notice Hannah walking among them. Some stared with curiosity. Some whispered quietly. "There is Hannah," they said. "She is the girl with the strange senses." Others looked at her with admiration, wondering how she could notice so much. Hannah felt a mix of emotions. She wanted to be accepted, but she also felt proud of her ability to notice the world in a unique way. She decided that she would not hide her condition. She would embrace it even if some people did not understand. She could use it to help others to notice things they might miss, and to bring small moments of joy to people's lives. That thought gave her courage. As she walked home later, Hannah noticed a small kitten stuck in a bush. It was mewing softly, too quiet for most people to hear. She followed the sound and gently lifted the kitten out of the bush. She could hear its tiny heartbeat and feel its soft fur. She wrapped it in her scarf and carried it home. Her mother smiled when she saw her. "You always notice what others miss," Amara said. Hannah smiled back. She realized that her condition allowed her to make a difference, even in small ways. She could hear, see, and feel things others could not. That was a gift, and she was learning to be grateful for it. That evening, Hannah sat by her window again thinking about the day. She remembered the faces of the people she had seen, the sounds she had heard, and the smells that had surrounded her. She realized that her condition made her more aware, more alive, and more connected to life. She could notice beauty, danger, and kindness that others might miss. It was a strange feeling to be different, but it also made her feel special. She understood that her senses, though unusual, allowed her to experience the world in ways others could not. And she felt a small happiness in her heart. Maybe being different was not bad at all. Maybe it was something to be grateful for. Hannah walked slowly through her neighborhood, feeling the eyes of her neighbors on her. Some people whispered to each other when she passed, keeping their distance as if she carried something invisible but dangerous. Their glances made her feel strange and at times even sad. She had always been different, but now that the doctor had told her about her rare condition, the difference felt real and visible to everyone. She could hear people whispering about her in the marketplace or across the street, sometimes praising her, sometimes questioning her, and sometimes just staring silently. Hannah did her best to ignore it, but the feeling of being watched followed her like a shadow. Every time she walked outside, she could sense the small hesitations, the tiny shifts in people's expressions, the subtle movements of their hands. Her condition made these things stand out. She noticed every detail, every tiny sound, every subtle motion. It was as if the world had become sharper, brighter, louder, and more real, and yet she also felt heavier under the gaze of everyone around her. Despite this, Hannah had one friend she trusted completely, Boma. Boma had grown up in the same town, gone to the same school, and played in the same fields. He had always been supportive, but now he became even more protective of her. He walked beside her in the marketplace, greeting people with a warm smile, and whispered words of encouragement whenever Hannah felt nervous. "You're special," he would say, "don't let anyone make you feel less than you are." Boma reminded her that her unusual condition was a gift, not a curse, and that she had the power to live fully despite what others thought. He often carried her basket of groceries or offered his hand when they walked through crowded streets. Hannah felt grateful for his friendship because, with Boma beside her, the town felt less intimidating. She could focus on herself, on the things she could do, rather than the whispers behind her back. But even with Boma, Hannah sometimes wondered why she had this condition. She asked herself the question repeatedly during quiet moments alone in her room or when walking by herself through empty streets. Why was she the one with senses sharper than anyone else? Why did she notice every small sound, smell, and movement? Why did her life feel heavier at times because of this awareness, even though it allowed her to see beauty in small details others missed? Hannah tried to answer these questions herself. Sometimes she thought it might be a test, something she had to learn to control. Sometimes she thought it was a chance, a gift that gave her an unusual perspective on the world. And sometimes she simply shrugged and said, "I don't know," because the answer did not come easily. No one in the town could explain it, and the doctor only said it was rare and harmless. That was all she knew. Hannah's days followed a careful rhythm. She tried to live normally, waking up early, helping her mother Amara with household chores, and visiting her younger brother Kalu before school. She went to the market to buy food, waved to the shopkeepers she had known since childhood, and sat by the fountain in the town square to watch the world. Even in these ordinary routines, Hannah noticed extraordinary things. She could hear the soft flapping of birds' wings in the trees, the gentle rustling of leaves in the breeze, and the faint footsteps of people walking quietly behind her. She could smell the fresh bread baking in the bakery before reaching the corner, the faint scent of flowers from the garden, and even the subtle fragrance of herbs from the market. Each day was full of sensory details that made life rich and vivid. She sometimes felt overwhelmed by it all, but she also felt grateful. Her unusual condition allowed her to experience life in ways others could not. People in the town continued to watch her. Some avoided her entirely, moving quickly when she approached, whispering to each other and shaking their heads. Some stared openly, their eyes wide with curiosity or disbelief. Others seemed unsure what to do, sometimes smiling awkwardly, sometimes bowing politely, and sometimes turning away. Hannah noticed everything. She noticed the pauses, the gestures, the small ways people reacted to her presence. It made her feel cautious. She had to think about every step she took, every word she spoke. She became careful not to draw attention in ways that might alarm or confuse people. She walked slowly, spoke softly, and kept her hands folded when in public spaces. She learned how to blend into the background while still being fully aware of everything happening around her. Yet not all interactions were uncomfortable. Some people were kind. Her neighbor, Mama Nala, always waved at her with a warm smile and offered a few words of encouragement. "You're a good girl, Hannah," she said one morning. "Don't let anyone make you feel small." Even though Mama Nala did not understand the full extent of Hannah's condition, her simple kindness made Hannah feel less alone. She learned to focus on these moments of connection, the small gestures of friendliness, and the few people who accepted her for who she was. These moments reminded her that the town was not entirely a place of judgment, and that she could find support if she looked carefully enough. Hannah often walked with Boma when visiting the market. He would tell her about the latest news, the small changes in town, or funny things children did while playing in the streets. Hannah listened closely, not just to his words but also to the sounds around them. She noticed the soft hum of the market, the laughter of children, the conversations of neighbors, and even the faint sound of water trickling from the fountain. Her condition allowed her to feel fully immersed in the world, and Boma's presence gave her courage. She began to understand that she did not have to hide her gift, even if some people were afraid of it. It was part of who she was. It could help her and perhaps even help others. Sometimes, though, Hannah felt lonely. Even with Boma by her side, the whispers and stares could be difficult to ignore. She would sit by the fountain or under a tree and close her eyes, trying to imagine a normal life where no one judged her. In these moments, she thought about how different she was, how people might never truly understand the way she experienced the world. Her senses were both a blessing and a burden. She could notice so much beauty and detail, yet this awareness also made her feel apart from everyone else. She often asked herself if she would ever meet someone like her, someone who experienced life as fully and vividly. It was a question she carried quietly in her heart. One afternoon, as Hannah walked through the market alone, she noticed a small commotion near the bakery. A basket of fresh bread had tipped over, and the rolls were rolling into the street. Hannah quickly moved to pick them up, noticing the movement before anyone else saw it. She gathered the bread and handed it back to the baker, who smiled gratefully. "Thank you, Hannah," he said. "You always notice things that others miss." Hannah smiled back quietly, feeling a small sense of pride. Moments like these reminded her that her condition could be useful. She could help people in small ways, even if they did not fully understand her. It gave her a sense of purpose. As days turned into weeks, Hannah continued to learn how to live with her unusual condition. She walked carefully through the streets, observed the world in detail, and appreciated the small things around her. Hannah was walking home one evening, the soft light of the setting sun casting long shadows across the streets. The air smelled faintly of smoke, but no one else seemed to notice it. Her senses, sharper than anyone else's, detected it immediately. It was a thin, acrid smell, almost hidden, but it triggered an alarm in her mind. Her heart started beating faster. She looked around carefully, trying to find the source. The streets were quiet. Children had gone home, shopkeepers were closing their stalls, and the town was settling into the calm of evening. Yet the smell persisted, growing slightly stronger as she walked. Hannah felt a chill in her spine, a sense of urgency. She knew she had to act quickly. She moved swiftly but carefully, following the faint scent of smoke. Her senses picked up the smallest details: the soft crackle of a tiny flame, the flicker of orange light reflecting off a shop window, and the smell of burning wood mixed with the sharp scent of dry paper. Most people would have walked past without noticing, thinking it was a faint odor from a kitchen or a nearby fire in the distance. But Hannah's senses were different. She could hear the faint hiss of the smoke, smell the burning before it became overwhelming, and see the glow of fire where others only saw darkness. She quickened her pace, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew she had to warn someone before it was too late. As she turned the corner, she saw the source. A small shop at the end of the street, partially hidden by the larger buildings around it. Smoke was curling from the side of the roof, and a small flame was licking at the wooden beams near the entrance. Hannah's sharp eyes noticed that the fire had only just started, but it could grow quickly if no one acted. She ran forward, shouting for help. "Fire! Help! Someone call the fire brigade," she cried. Her voice was firm and loud, echoing down the empty street. She could feel the fear in her chest, but she also felt a strange sense of calm. Her condition allowed her to notice every detail and react quickly. She knew that every second counted. People started to come out of nearby houses, alerted by her shouting. Some grabbed buckets of water from nearby taps, while others ran to the nearest fire station. Hannah stayed close to the shop, pointing to the flames and directing people where to pour water. She could smell the smoke growing stronger and hear the crackle of burning wood, but she remained focused. Her senses were heightened, allowing her to anticipate the fire's movement. She noticed that the wind was blowing slightly toward the neighboring houses, and she quickly warned the neighbors to step back. "The wind is pushing the smoke this way. Stay away," she shouted. People listened and followed her instructions. Her sharp awareness helped prevent a larger disaster. The shop owner, Yarrow, arrived shortly after. He looked terrified, but Hannah guided him to safety. "The fire is small, but it can spread fast," she told him. "Stay back. Help is coming." Yarrow's hands trembled as he watched the flames, and Hannah could hear the worry in his voice as he spoke to his neighbors. She stayed calm, directing everyone to use water and sand to stop the fire from growing. Her senses helped her notice the smallest details: a spark falling near the pile of boxes, the way the flames moved along the wooden beams, and the areas where smoke was thickest. She pointed these out, making sure people focused their efforts where it was most needed. Slowly, with Hannah's guidance, the fire began to die down. People continued to pour water, stamp out sparks, and remove nearby objects that could catch fire. Hannah could smell the smoke fading, hear the soft hissing of extinguished flames, and see the glow disappearing. Her heart started to slow as the danger passed. She realized how quickly things could have gone wrong if she had not noticed the smoke in time. Most people would have walked past without realizing, and the fire could have spread to nearby houses. Her senses, unusual and sharp, had allowed her to act before disaster struck. Yarrow, the shop owner, ran up to Hannah, tears in his eyes. "Thank you. Thank you so much," he said, bowing slightly. "If you had not noticed, I could have lost everything. You saved my shop, my livelihood, my life." Hannah smiled quietly, feeling a mixture of relief and pride. She could still smell the faint smoke, hear the crackle of dying embers, and see the blackened edges of the shop, but she felt a sense of accomplishment. Her condition, once a source of confusion and doubt, had helped her protect someone else. It was a moment that made her feel proud of herself in a way she had never experienced before. Neighbors came closer, asking questions and praising Hannah for her quick action. "You saw the fire before anyone else," one neighbor said. "You saved the shop," another added. Hannah could hear their voices clearly, notice the expressions on their faces, and feel the genuine gratitude they were showing. Boma arrived shortly after, running toward her. "Hannah, are you okay?" he asked, worry clear in his eyes. She nodded and smiled. "I'm fine. The fire is under control now," she replied. Boma looked around, impressed by how calm and collected she had been. "You were amazing," he said softly. Hannah felt warmth in her chest. Her friend had believed in her all along, and now everyone else could see what she could do. Yarrow kept repeating his thanks, hugging Hannah lightly. "I don't know what I would have done without you," he said. Hannah shook her head, smiling. "I just noticed it early," she said simply. "I followed the smoke and I called for help." But she knew inside that her condition had made the difference. Without her sharp senses, the fire might have grown beyond control. She could hear the fire brigade arriving in the distance, their sirens wailing faintly. The water hoses hissed as firefighters began to spray water on the remaining smoke. Hannah stepped back, letting the professionals take over, but her heart still raced with the adrenaline of the moment. She had acted in time, and that was what mattered. After the fire incident at Yarrow's shop, Hannah noticed a change in her town. People who had once avoided her or whispered behind her back began to look at her differently. They no longer seemed afraid of her unusual condition. Some approached her with smiles, some with polite nods, and some even came to speak with curiosity and kindness. Children waved at her in the streets, laughing and calling her name. Elders offered blessings, their hands raised in prayer as she passed by. Hannah felt a warmth in her heart she had never felt before. It was a sense of acceptance, of belonging, and it filled her with joy. The town finally understood that her condition, which had once seemed strange or even frightening, was a blessing, not something to fear. It allowed her to see, hear, and notice things that others could not, and now they recognized its value. Hannah's mother, Amara, smiled as she watched her daughter interact with the neighbors. "People are beginning to see your gift, Hannah," she said softly. "They understand now that it is a blessing." Hannah nodded, feeling a sense of pride and relief. She had always known her senses were special, but it was different when the town acknowledged it openly. Even her father, Ade, who had been cautious about her unusual awareness, expressed his pride quietly, patting her shoulder when no one else was looking. Hannah realized that her condition had not only changed how others saw her but had also strengthened her own confidence. She could live fully, embrace her gift, and use it to bring small but meaningful changes to the lives of people around her. Hannah continued to use her sharp senses in simple ways that helped others every day. When she walked through the marketplace, she noticed a vendor struggling to carry heavy baskets. She rushed forward quietly and helped lift them, surprising the vendor. "Thank you, Hannah," he said, smiling. She could hear the faint sound of his gratitude in his voice, feel the warmth of his smile, and notice the relief in his movements. She realized that even small acts of help, guided by her awareness, could make a big difference. It was not about fame or recognition, it was about the quiet impact she could have on people's lives. Her senses allowed her to notice the details that others missed, the tiny opportunities to do good, and she embraced them wholeheartedly. Children in the town began to follow Hannah as she walked through the streets, curious about how she noticed everything. She would point out small things: a bird building a nest, a leaf moving in the breeze, a flower blooming in a crack in the pavement. The children listened closely, fascinated by her attention to detail. Hannah explained gently how noticing small things could help them in their daily lives. "If you pay attention," she told them, "you can see things others miss. You can help people, avoid danger, and enjoy the beauty around you." The children began to understand. They started paying attention to the little things just as Hannah did. It made her feel happy to know that her gift could inspire others and encourage them to see the world in a more thoughtful and careful way. One day, Hannah noticed an elderly woman struggling to cross a busy street. The woman's hands shook and she moved slowly, unaware of the small obstacles in her path. Hannah hurried to her side and gently offered her hand. "Here, let me help you," she said. The woman smiled, grateful for the assistance, and Hannah guided her safely across the street. She could hear the woman's soft voice thanking her repeatedly and noticed the relief in her posture. Hannah realized that her senses were not only about noticing small things but about taking action to make a difference. She could prevent accidents, help people in danger, and provide comfort to those who needed it. Her gift was powerful in ways she had never fully appreciated before. Hannah also began to help Yarrow, the shop owner whose shop had caught fire. She walked with him through the market, noticing small safety issues that could prevent future accidents. She pointed out areas where sparks could start, where stacks of boxes were unsafe, and where smoke alarms could be installed. Yarrow listened carefully, trusting her advice, and soon made changes to protect his shop and his customers. Hannah felt a quiet pride in her heart. Her condition, once a source of confusion and embarrassment, had allowed her to make meaningful contributions. She could protect others, guide them, and help them see things they might not notice on their own. Neighbors started coming to Hannah for advice in small ways. One morning, she noticed a young boy struggling to carry water from the well. She ran to help him, guiding him safely to his home. Another day, she saw a neighbor's cat stuck in a tree. She carefully climbed up, rescued it, and returned it safely. Each act was small, but they mattered. People began to appreciate her attention to detail and her willingness to help. They no longer whispered behind her back. Instead, they called her kind, helpful, and observant. Hannah felt accepted in a way she had never felt before. Her condition had become a bridge between her and the community, turning what once made her different into a source of connection and purpose. Boma remained by her side during these days, supporting and encouraging her. "See how people are starting to appreciate you?" he said one afternoon as they walked through the streets. "They finally understand that your senses are special." Hannah smiled, feeling a sense of gratitude for his friendship. Without Boma, she might have doubted herself more, wondering if her gift was truly valuable. But with him she felt supported and capable. Together they walked through the town, helping others, noticing details, and spreading kindness in quiet but meaningful ways. Hannah realized that her life had changed not because she sought attention, but because she had embraced who she was fully and used her gift to make life better for others. As Hannah walked through the town, she noticed how people now greeted her openly. Shopkeepers waved, children ran to show her small things they had discovered, and elders nodded with approval. She felt proud of how far she had come. Her unusual condition, once a secret source of anxiety, had become a tool for good. She could notice small dangers, appreciate beauty, and help people in ways that mattered. Hannah began to see her gift as part of her identity, not something to hide. She felt accepted and respected, and the gratitude from her community filled her with happiness. Her senses, once a source of uncertainty, had become a reason to feel proud and useful. At home, Hannah shared her experiences with her family each evening. She told her mother about the children she had helped, the neighbors who had thanked her, and the small dangers she had prevented. Her mother Amara listened with pride, her eyes shining. "You've turned your gift into something beautiful," she said. "You've made our town safer and happier." Hannah smiled, feeling warmth and satisfaction. Even her father Ade and her younger brother Kalu began to recognize the value of her senses. They noticed how her awareness made life easier and safer, and they felt proud to be part of her world. Hannah realized that her gift could bring joy, comfort, and safety, and that was more than she had ever imagined. One evening, Hannah sat quietly by the fountain in the town square. The sun was setting, and she could hear the gentle laughter of children playing nearby. She could smell the fresh bread from the bakery and the flowers from the garden. Hannah sat by the fountain in the town square, watching the sunlight dance on the water. The gentle ripples reflected the sky and the buildings around her, and she could hear the soft laughter of children playing nearby. She could smell the faint aroma of fresh bread from the bakery, the sweet scent of flowers in the garden, and even the earthy smell of the soil in the small patches of greenery scattered throughout the square. Hannah closed her eyes for a moment and felt the breeze on her face, noticing the soft rustling of leaves and the distant hum of the town's life. Her senses, once a source of confusion and worry, now filled her with a sense of peace. She realized how much they had allowed her to experience the world and how they had given her opportunities to help others in ways no one else could. Hannah thought back to the fire at Yarrow's shop. She remembered how the smoke had reached her first, how she had noticed the faint glow of the flames, and how she had guided people to put out the fire before it grew. That day had been a turning point. It had shown her that her condition, which some had thought strange or even frightening, was actually a gift. She had saved Yarrow's shop, helped prevent harm to others, and brought the community together in a moment of cooperation and care. The town had begun to see her differently after that. People who had avoided her now came to greet her, children smiled and waved, and elders offered blessings. Hannah felt a quiet sense of pride. Her gift was valuable not because it made her different, but because it allowed her to make a real difference in people's lives. As Hannah walked through the streets of her town, she noticed small moments that others might overlook. She saw a young boy struggling to carry a basket of fruit from the market and rushed to help him, guiding him safely to his home. She noticed an elderly woman struggling to cross a busy street and offered her hand, ensuring she reached the other side without harm. She noticed when a neighbor's cat was stuck in a tree and climbed carefully to rescue it. Each act was small, yet Hannah could see the impact of her actions. People thanked her sincerely, sometimes with words, sometimes with smiles, and sometimes with the simple gesture of relief in their expressions. Hannah realized that her condition allowed her to notice what was needed and to act before problems could grow. It gave her the ability to help in ways others could not, and that thought filled her with gratitude and purpose. Her friend Boma often walked with her, observing her work and offering encouragement. "You have a rare gift, Hannah," he would say. "You see what others do not. You help what others would not even notice." Hannah smiled, feeling comforted by his words. Boma had always supported her, even when others questioned or avoided her. With his friendship, she felt stronger and more confident. She realized that she did not have to face the world alone. Her condition, paired with the support of those who cared about her, allowed her to live fully and positively influence the lives of those around her. She began to walk taller, smile more, and embrace her unusual senses as a part of who she was. Hannah's family too noticed the change in her. Her mother, Amara, expressed pride in her daughter's abilities and the way she had used them for good. Her father, Ade, nodded quietly when he saw how confident and caring she had become. Her younger brother, Kalu, sometimes followed her around, curious to see what Hannah noticed in the world. They saw how her condition made life safer, brighter, and more meaningful, and they admired her for the way she embraced it. Hannah felt warmth in her heart as she realized that what had once seemed like a challenge was actually a strength. She had grown in courage, patience, and awareness, and she could see the positive effects of her gift on the people she cared about. Hannah also noticed how the town had changed in response to her actions. People had started paying more attention to the small details around them. Shopkeepers became more careful with their goods, neighbors watched out for one another, and children learned to be more observant. Hannah saw how her condition had inspired others, even in small ways. She realized that her gift was not only about what she could do personally but also about how it could influence and uplift the community. She felt grateful that her senses allowed her to contribute in a meaningful way and that people now recognized her efforts. Her unusual awareness had become a source of connection and respect, bridging gaps and building trust between herself and those around her. One day Hannah walked past the market and noticed a young girl crying quietly behind a stall. Hannah could hear the soft sobs that no one else seemed to notice. She approached the girl gently and asked what was wrong. The girl explained that she had lost a small coin she needed to buy food. Hannah looked around carefully, using her sharp senses to scan the area. Within moments she found the coin on the ground, barely visible. She handed it back to the girl, who smiled brightly and hugged Hannah's hand in gratitude. Hannah felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She realized that her condition allowed her to help even in small, quiet ways that could change someone's day. The girl's smile, her relief, and her gratitude made Hannah understand that her gift was truly meaningful. As days passed, Hannah continued to notice and act on the small needs of the town. She helped a man retrieve his dropped papers, guided a lost child back to her family, and warned neighbors of small hazards that could have caused accidents. Each time she could hear the relief, see the gratitude, and feel the subtle shifts of joy and comfort in those she helped. These experiences strengthened her sense of purpose. Hannah understood that her condition was not just about being different or special, it was about being aware, caring, and responsible. She could use her senses to bring safety, happiness, and kindness into people's lives. That realization filled her heart with pride and satisfaction. Hannah also began to teach others, especially children, how to notice small details around them. She showed them how to listen to soft sounds, see patterns in nature, and recognize small signs that could indicate danger or opportunity. The children listened carefully, fascinated by her guidance. They began to notice things that had previously gone unseen, and they started helping their families and neighbors in small ways. Hannah felt joy as she watched the town become more attentive and caring. Her rare condition, once a source of anxiety, had become a source of education, inspiration, and community improvement. She felt grateful not only for her own abilities but for the way they could influence others positively. Even in quiet moments, Hannah reflected on her life and her journey. She remembered the fear she had felt when the doctor first told her about her condition. She remembered the isolation, the whispers of neighbors, and the cautious glances from people around her. Now all of that had changed. Hannah felt a deep sense of gratitude for her senses. They allowed her to experience life fully, to notice what others might miss, and to act in ways that brought real good into the world. She realized that her condition had given her empathy, awareness, and the ability to connect with others in meaningful ways. She no longer wished she were like everyone else, she was proud to be herself. One evening, Hannah walked through the town square, feeling the soft breeze on her face and hearing the gentle sounds of life around her. Children waved and called her name, elders smiled and nodded, and neighbors greeted her warmly. She noticed every detail: the flicker of a candle in a shop window, the aroma of cooking food, the soft rustle of leaves in the trees. She realized that her condition had allowed her to see the beauty in the world and to help preserve it, in small ways that mattered deeply. She felt gratitude not because she was different, but because her difference allowed her to make a positive impact on people's lives every day. Hannah sat quietly on the bench by the fountain, reflecting on all that had happened. She thought about the fire, the gratitude of Yarrow, the small acts of kindness she had been able to perform, and the acceptance she had received from the town. She understood that her life had purpose and that her senses, which had once felt overwhelming and strange, were a source of strength. Hannah smiled to herself, feeling a calm confidence she had never known before. She had learned to embrace her gift, to use it wisely, and to live fully with awareness, empathy, and courage. She felt proud of who she had become. From that day forward, Hannah carried herself with quiet confidence. She walked through the town with awareness and kindness, noticing opportunities to help and acting whenever she could. Children learned from her, neighbors trusted her, and elders blessed her. She continued to use her senses in simple, meaningful ways, making the town a better and safer place. Her gift had become a source of joy, purpose, and gratitude. Hannah no longer saw her condition as something strange or worrying. She saw it as a blessing, a way to live fully, and a way to contribute to the happiness and safety of others. She felt proud, happy, and deeply grateful. Hannah's journey had taught her a valuable lesson. Being different was not a weakness. Her rare condition allowed her to see the world in ways others could not, to notice things that mattered, and to help others quietly but effectively. She had transformed fear and doubt into confidence and gratitude. She had learned to embrace her senses, her awareness, and her ability to act with care. And in doing so, she had discovered that her life was meaningful, her gift was powerful, and her heart was full of purpose. Hannah smiled softly as the sun set, feeling the warmth of gratitude and the quiet joy of knowing she had used her gift well every day.